Hello everyone. Welcome back to Nurtured and Nourished. For those who are new, this podcast is dedicated to helping women on their journey from conception to postpartum, offering support, inspiration, and practical advice for a healthy, balanced life. Today's episode is on a topic that doesn't get talked about enough, but it affects countless mothers across the world and so in India. We will discuss postpartum depression, or you call it PPD. Many mothers don't realize just how common PPD is. It affects about 1 in 5 mothers in India. So that's roughly 22% of new moms who struggle with these feelings. And I'm sure these numbers will be even higher due to underreporting. Yet, many don't reach out for help, often because they feel ashamed or alone. However, the truth is, postpartum depression is real, medical condition that can affect any mother, whether she is the first-time mom or has had children before, or regardless of her background or support system. In today's episode, we will cover the signs and symptoms of PPD. We will also talk about the possible cause behind PPD, some of which might surprise you. And most importantly, we will share practical ways to cope. I'll be sharing real-life stories and insight from mothers who have faced PPD and come out stronger. I hope by the end of this episode, you will feel much informed, more aware, and compassionate towards yourself or anyone who may be dealing with postpartum depression. So whether you're a new mom planning to become one or just here to learn, let's dive into it. So first off, let's understand what is postpartum depression or PPD. It is a mental health condition that affects many women after childbirth. It's more than just the typical baby blues that happen within the first week or two after the birth. This is obvious as the hormone changes and with the new responsibilities might make you feel tearful and irritable. While the baby blues affect up to 70 to 80% of new mothers and usually resolves on their own, PPD is more intense, lasts longer, and often requires support or treatment. It can impact the quality of life, relationships, the ability to bond with the babies. Despite how common it is, there is still a stigma around discussing this issue, which makes it harder for mother to recognize the symptoms and ask for help. There was this client Anusha, a young mother from Delhi, found herself feeling lost and hopeless just few weeks after giving birth to her first child. She had trouble sleeping, eating properly, felt extremely disconnected from her baby and couldn't understand what's going on. She got into extreme sadness and she started to feel ashamed of herself. Anusha was hesitant to speak up about these feelings, worried her family might not understand, which is so common, right? She tried to push through on her own, but eventually she opened up to a friend who recognized the symptom and encouraged her. And I'm glad her friend encouraged her to speak to a counselor. This support helped her realize that she wasn't alone and that her experience was absolutely valid. With therapy and support from her family, she began to see improvement in no time. Anusha's story is one of many. In India, where expectations around motherhood are often high and the support is unfortunately focused more on baby's health or maybe the physical recovery of the mother. And this is where PPD can feel particularly isolating. Many mothers feel that they need to fit in the role for the perfect mother and don't realize that PPD is both common and treatable. It isn't just about mood swings or fatigue. It's the real condition that requires understanding and support. All the mothers out there, the new moms, they need to know that they are not failing. They are not weak. It's a condition which is very common. So let's understand some of the very common symptoms of postpartum depression, as recognizing these can be a significant step towards understanding what you're experiencing or helping someone who may need support. PPD often manifests as a lasting sadness, that's different from everyday's emotion. For example, a mother might feel a sense of emptiness that just doesn't go away. A new mom who expected to feel overjoyed after having her baby, but instead of happiness, she feels hollow, even while holding her child. Ria, one of my clients, finds herself crying frequently, sometimes for reasons she can't even identify. And this sadness just sticks around with her for the whole day, day after days. And this isn't just about a bad day, one bad day, or being tired. It's much deeper, persistent, and leaves her feeling disconnected. New mothers are often feel tired, but PPD fatigue is a different story altogether. A mother feels like no amount of sleep could ever make them feel rested. Despite getting a few hours of sleep while the husband takes care of the baby, she still feels completely exhausted, unable to find any energy even for the things she used to enjoy, like a quiet cup of tea in the morning also. This amount of fatigue goes beyond sleep deprivation. It's an overwhelming sense of physical and mental drain that makes even small tasks feel monumental. Shruti, my another client, who always dreamt of having a close connection with her child, but now with her baby in here, she feels detached. Even while holding her, she worries about whether she will ever feel a natural bond, and this feeling makes her feel terribly guilty, questioning if she is doing something wrong. In reality, PPD is affecting her capacity to connect. This struggle doesn't mean that Shruti doesn't love her baby. It's a symptom of PPD that many women experience. And then PPD isn't always about sadness. For many, it's intense anxiety. Like Divya constantly used to worry about her baby's safety, even with her partner and family helping her out. She's caught up in a loop of what ifs, like worrying whether the baby is breathing, if she is being a good mother, or if something bad might happen. Many a times, these thoughts spiral into full-blown panic attacks, leaving her heart racing, short of breath, and unable to relax. Divya's anxiety is overwhelming, and it prevents her from enjoying the time with her child or family. Instead, she's constantly worried. Another symptom, and one of the lesser talked about, is irritability, which might come as a surprise. Some mothers feel easily angered or frustrated, often feel like they are about to snap, whether at their maids, nannies, husband, or even at their own moms. Vinita, another client, could never really realize or understand why she feels this way. She might lash out over small things or feel frustrated by everyday sounds also, like the baby's crying or household noise. This irritability wasn't because she's ungrateful or doesn't love her family. It's a manifestation of the stress and pressure that comes with PPD. But why the hell this happens? Well, there isn't one single reason. Actually, there are several common factors that contribute to it. Pregnancy is an incredible hormonal journey, and right after child's birth, a mother's body experiences some of its most significant hormonal changes. Two key hormones, estrogen and progesterone, drop dramatically after delivery. Now, these hormones don't just regulate physical functions, they also impact your mood, energy, your stress responses, and everything else. Imagine this sudden free fall of hormones, similar to what happens before the menstrual cycle, but on a much larger scale. This shift can feel an emotional roller coaster, leading to mood swings, sadness, and irritability. Also, the physical toll of pregnancy and childbirth is no small feat. After 9 months of changes, the body goes through the intense experience of labor, and there is the adjustment of this new life with a newborn. A mother's body is healing from delivery after experiencing discomfort, fatigue, and in some cases, long-term recovery, like when it comes to the stitches or C-section wound. And to this, the emotional weight. Questions about whether she is doing good enough, managing sleepless nights, And the biggest, adjusting to her new identity as a mother. This combination of physical recovery and mental adjustment creates a perfect storm of stress. And many mothers feel that they are expected to do it all right way without really being given the space to heal and process. Another biggest reason, sleep deprivation. We all know how important it is, right? But for new mothers, restful sleep becomes a rare luxury. Broken sleep, where you're waking up every couple of hours to feed the baby, is not same as getting solid rest. And when the sleep is scarce, it affects everything. Your mood, decision making, even your ability to stay calm. A mother going days, even weeks, on such little sleep may start to feel constantly on the edge, unable to handle what used to be simple daily tasks before. And when sleep deprivation goes on long enough, it makes it nearly impossible for her mind and body to recover. This lack of sleep feeds directly into the emotional turmoil of PPD. Then there is this isolation and lack of support which many mothers feel after giving birth. This can be especially true in urban settings like Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, or any other metropolitan cities where families may not live close or may not have a tradition of postpartum support. In many Indian homes, a mother might have family members around initially, but once they leave, she's left to manage everything alone. There's also often an unspoken expectation that everything is fine and she's supposed to just handle it. Now, without a support system to talk to, share responsibilities with, or simply to listen, mother may start feeling lonely and disconnected. This isolation can worsen the symptom of PPD, making mothers feel like there is no one who truly understands. And finally, if a woman has a personal history of mental health struggles, whether it's depression, anxiety, or even a close family member who has experienced similar challenges, she is at a higher risk of PPD. For example, if women dealt with anxiety during pregnancy or had some depressive episodes in the past, those patterns can re-emerge or even intensify postpartum. Now, knowing this risk factor can help family members be proactive in offering support. But in many cases, these issues aren't openly discussed, especially in India where mental health still carries stigma. Recognizing this history is essential because it allows the mother and her support network to seek help early on, rather than waiting for that time wherein these symptoms get worse. Now, these reasons, these causes highlight that PPD is not simply feeling low after having a baby. It's a mix of biological, emotional, and social factors coming together. And importantly, none of these causes are within the mother's control. They are all natural responses to a life-changing experience. And understanding these can make a real difference on how we support new mothers. So with that, let's get into the heart of today's episode. Practical ways to cope up with and manage postpartum depression. These tips, hacks, or you call strategies are designed to make the journey a little easier for you. And they are all based on real life experiences from other mothers whom I've worked with or still working with. So one of the most powerful thing a mother can do is to seek help early on. Like Anusha, whom I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, noticed that her feelings of sadness weren't going away. And she was feeling increasingly overwhelmed, right? Initially, she thought it was just a new mom's adjustment. But apparently, when her friend encouraged her to speak with a counselor, she finally reached out. Now, that decision was a turning point in Anusha's life. Therapy gave her a safe space to voice her fears and frustrations. And it helped her realize that she wasn't alone or at fault. So the sooner mothers like Anusha reach out, whether to a counselor, a doctor, or a health coach, or even to a trusted friend, the sooner they can start feeling the support they deserve. Then try and prioritize rest and sleep. Yes, of course, I know a proper sleep is almost impossible with a newborn. Hence, instead of aiming for a full night of sleep, which is often unrealistic, I know that, try to prioritize rest wherever possible or whenever possible. Aisha always used to feel exhausted and irritable until we started working together. I simply created a rest plan with her husband. Yes, we got on a call and we agreed that he would handle the baby for a couple of hours each morning, giving Aisha a chance to take a nap. These short but regular naps made a huge difference in her mood and energy levels. So remember, it's very important to ask for help with the baby. Even small amount of rest can recharge you more than you realize. Now this leads to my next step. Whether it's family, friend or community groups, having people around to support you is super vital. Asma, a new mom from Gurgaon who felt extremely lonely and isolated despite having her family nearby. So we decided to check if there is any new moms group in or around her neighborhood. Fortunately, she found one and got connected with other moms going through a similar phase. Meeting up for even a short coffee or a chat gave Asma a sense of belonging and reminded her that she wasn't in this alone. Finding and learning on your support network, whether it's a family, friend, or even online groups, can provide a big emotional lift. So if the family isn't around or you're not really comfortable with them, please look out for such groups. Now I know for a fact that with a newborn, there is a lot of noise and constant demands on your attention. Many mothers find relief in taking a few minutes each day to reduce overstimulation. And that's exactly what I did with Nisha. I asked her to start taking at least 10 minutes break, short breaks for herself. Of course, once the baby is off to sleep. Break to sit quietly. Just close her eyes and take a few deep breaths. And trust me, these small routines helped her much feel calmer, more centered before going back to her responsibilities. By creating these short, quiet time breaks, whether it's closing your eyes, listening to a calming music, or even sitting down on the balcony for a moment, you give your mind a chance to reset. So please do that, alright? Take these small breaks. You deserve them more than anybody else. And once you start getting used to of these short breaks, please start with some physical movement. Any exercise can be incredibly helpful for your mental health. You don't need to get into anything intense. Even a simple walk around the neighborhood or just a gentle stroll with your baby in the stroller can lift your mood, because moving your body, even in small ways, release endorphins, which are natural mood lifter hormones. It could be a few stretches or a very simple light yoga or any form of exercise, whichever you're comfortable in. The goal should be to move in a way that feels manageable and enjoyable. Alright, so that you don't feel any added pressure on yourself. And the most important, of course, please nourish your body with healthy food, as correct eating can make a world of a difference in energy and mood levels. I remember very soon after working with Poonam, a new mom, she started to realize that how she was miserable when she was skipping meals or eating only on the go. She always used to feel sluggish and irritable. But then we started preparing simple meals that were so easy to grab, like fruits, nuts, keep some homemade smoothie or dal soups. All of that made her life very simple. Whenever she's hungry, she's just stopped having bad food. Eating on regular intervals and choosing food rich in nutrients, both are important. Foods which are rich in nutrients like leafy greens, whole grains, proteins can actually help you stabilize your blood sugar and of course support mental and physical health. Okay, you don't need to have an elaborated meals, alright? But a balanced meal which gives your body the fuel it needs to keep up the demands of that newborn right now. And it will help you also to recover fast. These are all very small and manageable steps that can make big impact over time. See, the key is to recognize the signs and then take steps towards it at your own pace. Now, as I wrap up this episode, I want to remind you that postpartum depression is a very real and common condition, especially here in India, where societal expectations around motherhood can add extra pressure. I'm not trying to scare you, but remember 1 out of every 5 new mothers in India experiencing this, some form of postpartum depression. So please remember, if you or someone you know is facing postpartum depression, there is no shame in asking for help. It's not a sign of weakness or failure. It's simply part of the journey that many mothers face. In fact, a large survey across various Indian states found that nearly 1/3 of mothers with PPD didn't seek help due to concerns about judgment or family pressure or societal pressure. This only shows that how essential it is for us to normalize these conversations and create such spaces where mothers can feel seen and heard without judgment. So by any means, if you have any symptoms or if you're feeling isolated, please take that small step to connect with someone. It can be a friend, a family member, or a support group. That's absolutely your choice. But do reach out. There are several local organizations as well, both in person and online, that offer resources and support for mothers dealing with PPD. See, ultimately we need to accept that our mental health is as important as our physical health. When we care for mothers, we are caring for the entire family and the community. So be kind to yourself and know that you are not alone. That's all for today. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Nurtured and Nourished. If you found this episode helpful, do share it with someone who may need it. Now I am on almost all the audio platforms, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, including YouTube as well. So please hit that follow button on whichever platform you're listening to me, because without your support, we both, this channel and I, would never be able to grow. So please show your love by hitting that subscribe button only if you find this channel helpful. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. I'll mention the handles in the episode description. Please feel free to leave a feedback. It will mean a lot to me. I'll be back next week with more tips on how to stay strong, free, and more resilient. Until then, stay nurtured and nourished. Bye.